Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the mentor training. It's good to see everyone. Welcome to, I see we have Clinton Park with us and Naisna, as well as Pedro and George. So welcome everyone. I think it's such a privilege seeing everyone again. We've been in contact via email and over the phones. It's good to put a face to everyone. So welcome this morning. We're excited to have you join us, and thank you so much for taking the time out to join the training this morning. Also, on behalf of Cornerstone Institute, we want to say thank you for your commitment for the past few months. I'm not sure on your side, but on our side, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. But by God's grace, we've been getting a bit more stable as time has been going on. And so we also preparing for the July intake. And it's been good so far. So I hope that your experience as mentors has been a delightful one. Firstly, this morning I'd like to also welcome Pastor Mark with us. I hope that you guys have read through his resume. And more than just the academic side of things, Pastor Mark has been a mentor to me personally. I met him when I was studying at Global School of Theology, and I've known him now as the principal even for the past 8 years. So he's been the principal at Global School of Theology for the time that I studied there. And it's been quite and also mentor even to me, and that's why I asked him this morning just to come and share it with us. And I'm sure that we would be fine even through this time. So I really hope that we would also just be interactive, don't ask questions, whatever questions you have. For me personally, it's been quite it hasn't just been easy for me to be a mentor. I think there's been so many things that has been coming up with students, and sometimes we don't know where to even go to with these questions. So please feel free to ask him this morning. He's here to assist us and to make our journey even a bit more pleasant. So please let me hand over to you. Thank you so much. Enjoy the session.
Okay. Well, thank you, Natasha. Sorry for the delay. I think we had some technical problems. But I look forward to spending these next few moments with you. We're running a little behind, but I'm sure we can accomplish some things here. Before I get started, if you would, just anybody, one at a time, everybody, just what's been your experience so far? You've been mentoring since February, and what has been your experience, positive and negative? What have you learned yourself, and what have you experienced, or what are some of the challenges you've had acting as a mentor and a leader for those folks there at your center? Anybody want to start? I don't know your names, but I do have the names of the places. But if anybody would like to start, either Taro or Nizer or wherever it may be, anybody like to type or even make a comment before we get started with the lesson today? Nobody? No, don't be shy. Pero? Anybody there? Everybody's hesitating. Nobody wants to be first. Okay, well, let's get started. I do have a comment here, the lack of students for their tutors. That's unfortunate, but as you prepare and you prepare to be a tutor, when they come, you'll be ready. So look at it from that perspective. If you don't have a lot right now, we're trusting that you will have several students in the future, especially the July intake. So let's get started. I'd like to make this interactive. I'll start with some slides. We'll discuss some principles about mentoring and leadership. And then periodically we'll just pause if anybody has a comment, question, or some kind of an additional comment that they want to make. Please feel free to do so. So let's begin now and start on this journey together. Where's my PowerPoint? It's gone. It's go on.
Scroll down. Scroll deep.
Oh, okay. There it is.
Oh, the other one there.
Over.
Yeah. Press again. Down.
Oh, stick.
And press again.
Yeah.
And scroll down. And select that one.
This. Okay. We thought we had all the bugs worked out. Whoops, there it is. We thought we had everything worked out the first time through. So we had new challenges this time. So I guess that's life. We adjust to whatever happens. But let's get started. Leadership or mentoring principles. Just some. My prayer is, I've been thinking about this. My wife and I have been in Africa for 30 years. We were in East Africa for several years and moved to Cape Town, South Africa in 2006. So we love Africa. We believe Africa is such great potential, and the Church of Africa has incredible potential. And so we're just privileged to be with you today. So let's get started. Look at some of these principles that we want to talk about this morning. Leadership principles, mentoring. I think first and foremost, we have to understand that God is the author of authority. If you look through the scriptures, in Matthew, in Romans, and in John, it talks about that God is the author of authority. And so when we look at authority, when we look at our leadership or our mentoring position or discipleship position, understand that God is the one that has put us there and allowed us this opportunity, and He's entrusted us to lead people, mentor people, and disciple them. And so from that perspective, we see that scripturally, leadership is a partnership. Is a partnership with God, that we're not in this alone. You're not mentoring those students by yourself. You have God, you have His help, you have the leading of the Holy Spirit, you have His Word, and as you prepare yourself, part of this whole mentoring thing, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, is the fact of you yourself leading yourself, because as you lead yourself, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, as you grow, then you're better equipped and will have much more skill and ability to mentor and to disciple and to lead others, because you've been able to do it to yourself. And so it's important that you understand that you are in a partnership. There is a school, there is Cornerstone, they're part of it, but ultimately your partnership is with the Lord. And then the first shall be last. In other words, you're a servant, and you're there for those that you're going to mentor, those that you're going to lead and disciple. You're there to serve them, to help them. And as we'll look later in this discussion, and hopefully we get some more questions, as you look later, that you're here to help them become the best person they can be. The person that God has designed them to be. And so when we look at that, so that means you're a servant to them. You're going to help them. You're going to walk with them. You're going to encourage them. You're going to speak to them and give them insight and tell them about the journey and walk with them on this journey that they've set out on. And so it's inside out. It's from character to conduct. Our character, who we are inside, determines our conduct on the outside. And so as you mentor, as you disciple, as you lead those folks in your center, the important thing is your character must be in line with Christ. We're not going to be perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. But as we grow in Christ-likeness, as we grow in His character within us, then our conduct, our method of speaking, our method of serving, our method and our motives will all be driven by the character that's within, with that character which has been touched and strengthened by God's Spirit. And then the final leadership is a spiritual gift. If you look at Romans 12, that's one of the gifts that Christ has given the church. That's leadership. I classify mentoring or discipling as being leadership. You are taking a person or people on a journey, and you're going to take them on a journey that's going to help them to become more than what they thought they could be. And that's one of the important things about mentoring that we'll look at later as well. They may have ideas where they want to go, but there may be more in them that they don't see. And as you as a leader, a mentor, you can reveal things or help them to understand things or discover things about themselves and some of their gifts that they are not even aware of. And that to understand it as well, and we'll look at this in detail more later, those you lead belong to the Lord. And when you see them that way, as we'll look later, you'll see them with value, you'll see them with having worth, you'll treat them differently. If you understand that they belong to the Lord, you are just here to be stewards as you help them, as you move with them and help them move down the road to become successful young men and women. If you keep that view in, it determines, and as we'll look later, our mental model of how we view people and how we view leadership will determine how we mentor and how we walk with people. I can't see it.
I have no idea why they can't see us.
Ah.
Hold on.
Okay. Scroll this one.
Yeah.
Are you able, we had a note there, you were unable to see the PowerPoint. Can you see it now? Okay, you can see it now. Okay, great. Well, let me just quickly, I'll just go through these real quick. God is the author of authority. Leadership is partnership with God. First shall be last, your servanthood. Inside out, your character. What's happening inside of you determines your conduct. Leadership is a spiritual gift, and you lead. Those you lead belong to the Lord. Before we go any further, any questions or comments on just those introductory bullets? Nothing?
All good.
I'm sorry?
All good, thank you.
Great. Awesome.
Okay, good. Well, let's go on. This is, we're having some technical difficulties, but we're going to work through it, and we're going to really get some things done today. So, let me go to the next slide, and we'll go from there. Framework for analysis. What is your mental model of leadership? In other words, how do you view it? What's your concept of mentoring, of discipling, of leading other people? Is it, from where you come from? Is it biblically based? Is it more from a secular standpoint? The other thing is that mental model determines our motives. It determines how we motivate, and our motives for what we're doing, for discipling or for leading or mentoring. Our heart's motive must be for the best for the person that we are leading or mentoring. And so if we have that mental model, then the motives, our heart is always focused on what's best for the person that I am mentoring, or I'm discipling, or I'm leading. And then it also determines the manner in which we treat them, how we speak to them, how we view them. Do I see them as having value and worth? Do I see them having dignity? Do I see them having gifts and abilities that now I have a chance to help them develop it? Or do I just see them as a person and, I want to get through this? Our mental model will determine that. And then also, our method of leadership then. The methods that we use to encourage, to strengthen, to walk with them, those things will be determined by our mental model of leadership. And so, internal beliefs. God's leadership development process touches the whole person. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You as mentors are really going to help the person develop mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. A whole person. It's one thing to have good grades, it's one thing to do well on your exams, it's one thing to do well on your papers. But there's such a thing as emotional strength and spiritual growth and spiritual development. You want them to leave there not just doing well in the Cornerstone program, which we want them. We want them to be successful. But you want them to leave there more emotional healthy than they came in. That they will be strengthened emotionally and they will be strengthened spiritually. And as we'll look later, some of that strengthening them emotionally and spiritually may be difficult, and it's going to challenge you to be able to do some hard things and say some difficult things that need to be said, but they'll be said in love, and we'll talk about that. But it's important because if they're really going to develop in those three areas, it's going to take work. And a lot of people don't mentor, a lot of people don't like to discipleship, or because it does take work, not just for the mentoree or the one that's being discipled, but for the mentor or the discipler themselves, those that are leading. It takes a lot of strength, a lot of emotional strength, a lot of spiritual strength. And so it's important that you yourself have that understanding. We're still having a, there it is, it's back again. So hopefully it's back well. Servant leadership then is God's model. We see it throughout the scripture. It says if you want to be first, be last. If you want to live, you've got to die. If you want to be a leader, then you have to be a servant. And so when it comes to mentoring, comes to leadership, or comes to discipling, it is being in a position of serving others so they can become the best person that God has designed them, created them to be. So I'm not sure what's happening with chat. It says some things are coming on, but nothing is showing up on my screen here. And so we will just go to the next slide for now. Hopefully we can work this out and get it taken care of quickly. Our internal beliefs, the motives of the heart. Most important, our motives are more important than our skill and our talent. A lot of people have skills and talent. They have some natural skills of leading, some natural skills of maybe mentoring, but more important is the motive. I can have skills and talents, but if my motives aren't in the right place, that's not going to help them. My motives are more important because it affects everything else. And so they're more important than your skill, more important than your talent. And so the biblical concept of the heart implies it is the center of our lives. In other words, what is happening within me, and as I mentioned, self-leadership. I must be growing spiritually. I must be growing emotionally. I must be growing mentally if I'm really going to be the mentor that that person needs and deserves. If I'm really concerned about their best, concerning that they become very successful and they develop their gifts and their talents and abilities to the best that they can be developed, then I must myself lead myself in order that I have what they need. Then I can give them something that's going to be useful, something that's going to be helpful, and something that they can carry with them after this whole process is over. And so we must guard our hearts because it affects our motives. It's easy to get frustrated. It's easy to get impatient. It's easy to want to give up. Because sometimes we may share things, tell them things, work with them, and then it seems like nothing was heard, nothing changed, they didn't try anything we suggested, and it can be very frustrating, and you can become very impatient, and that's why it's very important that our hearts are right, and that we're able to gather ourselves and not react, but respond in a positive way, but yet a way that's maybe firm, but reaffirming at the same time. And so, and from that respect, it's important that our heart be kept pure and our motives pure, and that we have to guard our hearts because it affects everything else. And so we are motivated by a loving concern for others and their success. If you look at Christ, if you look at the Scripture, He wants us to be successful, in the sense that He wants us to grow to become more like Him. He wants us to be more Christ-like. He wants us to have His attitudes. He wants us to have His behaviors. He wants those things to take place in our lives. And that being the case, then He is going to work in us and wants to work through us so we can motivate others with the same concern and loving concern that He has for us and for our success. And so it's important that these internal beliefs, because remember we said from the inside out, from the internal, those things within us, our character, determines our conduct, how we relate, or how we will serve, or how we will minister to others. And so the manner in which we relate. We know how others should be treated with dignity. Several years ago, when my wife and I lived in Kenya, they have a United Nations, their major United Nations for the region there. And they were doing an African-wide study. This is back in the late 80s, early 90s. An African-wide study of what do people want to see in their leaders on this continent. And it didn't talk just about political leaders. It spoke of leaders in industry, in business, in education, yes, in politics, in government, but also within the church itself. And they wanted to know what are those things that people from all walks of life, from all different social strata, what were they looking for? And there were a list of things, but the three main things that came out were, number one, they wanted a person, a mentor, a leader, somebody who will walk with them that has a vision, that's clear and concise and understandable. The second thing, they wanted a person, a leader, a mentor that had integrity. In other words, they were what they said they were. It wasn't just enough to be honest, not lie. It was what they said they were inside. They were the same at home as they would be at the church or their place of work or in business or outside with other people or by themselves. What they were, what they proclaimed to be, was exactly what they were. That was integrity. But the most important thing was they wanted to be treated with dignity. It didn't matter if they were non-educated, highly educated, low social strata, high social strata. Didn't matter about color, didn't matter about tribe, didn't matter about family background. Every person almost said they wanted to be treated with dignity. And one of the ways that you will really be able to mentor and lead others well is to treat them with dignity. Your methods, your motives, if you see them, understanding them to have value, you treat them with dignity, they are going to listen to you because they know you respect them as a person. If they feel that you respect them as a person, they'll do everything that you ask them to do for the most part. But if they do not feel respected, if they feel like they are not viewed with having any dignity or any honor, they will not receive anything from any leader, no matter how great they say they are, no matter how much they know, no matter their degrees, whatever it may be. The important thing is they want to be treated with dignity. And that will go a long ways in helping you get through those difficult times, as we'll look at a little later. So dignity, it's important, extremely important. Secondly, the people we lead belong to God and have value. If you treat them with dignity, it automatically follows that you're going to treat them, the way you relate with them, as people of having value. You see something in them, maybe that they don't even see themselves. Part of this process is helping people become more than they are themselves or perceive themselves to be. It may be that many people that you will work with, that you will lead or disciple or mentor, have been told throughout their life, you'll never amount to anything. You don't have these skills. You don't have these gifts. You can't do this. You can't do that. You're unable to do this. And they have been told from the time they were young that they'll never be able to accomplish anything of worth or value in their life. And so they're coming into a program wanting to be educated and wanting to develop, but that's in the background of their mind. And so you want to be able to help them rewrite their story. You want to be able to speak value and worth into their life. Proverbs 18:21 says there's power of life and the death in the tongue. That life and death is not literal, but you can give them emotional life or emotional death. Spiritual life or spiritual death. You can build on what is there, or you can tear down and continue to tear them down with the way you react to them. So you want to see them with value, treat them with value, and speak in such a way that they see it. One of the ways that we recommend at times is to help them, if they know what they've been told or what has been said to them over the years, and it's there, that you ask them to get a piece of paper, and on one side of the paper write, this is what people say. I will never amount to anything. I will never accomplish anything. You will never be worth much. And then on the other side of that paper, that they begin to write down what the Bible says about them, what God says about them. That God says they're of value. God says He knew them before they were born. God says that they have worth, that He came for them, that He's given them talents, He's given them abilities. And you start helping them rewrite their story. So it's not just their education you're worried about there at the center, where Cornerstone's courses are being taught, but you want them to grow spiritually and emotionally. And you want them to be able to begin to see themselves from God's perspective. And as you see them from God's perspective, then they will begin to see God differently, and they will begin to see themselves differently. Use your authority for the benefit of those you lead. We do have authority, but you use it for their benefit. You're not there to control them. You're there to lead them. You're not there to just oversee and not just be overly involved, but you're there to help them become a strong individual person that's going to develop their talents and their abilities. So you use it, if you see them with value and you treat them with dignity, automatically, the authority that you have as a mentor, as a discipler, you'll use that to help them develop themselves in a much greater way. And they'll begin to see themselves differently. And the other thing is, speak the truth in love, even when it hurts. And that's one of the difficult things. There may be times that you have to say something, and it will be difficult, but you have to speak the truth even when it's difficult. Because if you care about them, you'll tell them the truth. If you really want them to succeed, you will speak to them and tell them the truth. If you go to Mark chapter 10, verse 17, it's a story of the rich young man. Other places, it's a rich young ruler. And he comes to Jesus and he says, "Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus says, "Do you keep the commandments?" And he lists the commandments and he says, "I've done all those things. What else must I do?" And in Mark's version, it says with compassion. With other versions, it says with love. In other words, he looked at him through the eyes of compassion. He looked at him through the eyes of love. And he said a very difficult thing to this young man. He said, "Take everything you have, all the land you have, all the riches you have, sell it, and come follow me." That was a difficult saying. But Jesus knew what he needed more than the young man knew what he needed. He thought it was just doing one more thing, keeping one more commandment, or if there's something I'm not doing, to do it. But Jesus was challenging him to the depth of his being. And of course, the young man didn't do it. But it was out of love and compassion that he told him the truth. There may be times that those you are working with, those you are mentoring, that you'll have to say the hard things because you want the best for them. And that's going to be difficult. But if they know you care about them, if they know that you're going to treat them with dignity, if they know that everything you're doing is for their benefit, they will be willing and more accepting of what you have to say. They may not like it at first, they may push back at first, but they will see the truth in it because you've developed a relationship with them. So your choice of methods is critical. And your methods will vary from person to person. That's why it's important for you to get to know each person in your group. I would like to get to know each of you better. I wish we could be interactive. I don't know what happened to the screen in front of me. It won't even go back for me to come on to be with you. It just flashes. A camera keeps taking pictures. Things keep happening, but we're going to move on. I see there's 5 or 6 chats that come up, but they haven't come up on the screen. It just says chats. So things are crazy in here, but as you've learned as a leader, as you've learned as a mentor and a discipler, things happen and you just adjust. And you adjust the methods sometimes. The methods this time is going to be more lecture, unfortunately, and a lot less input and interaction, which I prefer. But if we can get this sorted out in the next few minutes, we only have maybe 10, 15 minutes, but let's see what we can do. But your choice of methods is critical, and it's important in the sense that every person is different. And as you get to know each person in that center, then you will adapt to that person. You'll understand who they are. You'll understand their background. You get a context. I would encourage you to sit down, have a cup of coffee, tea, Coke, whatever with them, and not just talk about their studies, not just talk about their program, but get to know them as a person. Because if you really want to help them, you really want to mentor them and disciple them, you want to get to know them. You want to know about them. You want to know their context, how they grew up, what their goals are, what their dreams are in life. what they're hoping to achieve. And by doing that, you can adapt your methods to each person. Some things motivate one person, they will not motivate another person. Some things will be seen as being critical to one person, they will not be seen that way with another person. So your choice of methods is critical, it's important, but it's going to vary from person to person and situation to situation and context to context. So that's why it's important to know them, know the context they're coming from, and to understand that you're going to bring them into a community now, and that community will have its own context. And so you're going to try to take all those things into consideration. And then you ask yourself, are my leadership methods wise? Are they wise? In other words, are the methods I'm using the best? Am I using what's the best for this person, for this group, in this situation, for this context? And that's where you can just begin to talk with them. How are you doing? Do you understand this? Do you understand that? Do you understand why I'm suggesting that you do this, or this is the approach you should take? And you start getting interaction and feedback from them, because they can help you. A good way of mentoring and discipling is to ask questions. And by asking questions, you help them come up with some of their own answers. So it's not so much you telling them what to do, but through leading them with questions, they come up with their own understanding, and they come up with an answer. And that answer then becomes theirs because they own it, but you've helped them get to that point by leading them, directing them with specific questions that they can address and answer. Do I model Christ? When things don't go well, how do I react? I'm going to be talking to these people about their emotional strength and their emotional development. I'm going to be talking to them about their spiritual strength and spiritual development. I'm going to be talking to them about how they're growing in their coursework. And then if something happens, frustrations come, misunderstandings come. Do I model Christ, or do I react, or do I respond? I have to tell you, one time I did not respond well. In fact, I reacted. And the last thing I did was model Christ. Here's a person that needed help, I was walking with, I was mentoring, and yet my frustration came out. We worked through it, but I was not modeling Christ well. And that again goes back to, am I walking with Him? Am I have time with Him each day? Am I have time in His Word each day? You're not going to be perfect. But another thing about mentoring is being vulnerable. Let them know, hey, you're not perfect. You haven't always done it correctly. You didn't always do it correctly. None of us do it correctly every time. We all have our moments where we stumble, where we fall, but yet we get back up. And so, but we can model Christ in how we respond and how we react to them when they falter or fail. It may get frustrating. They may not follow through on what we want them to follow through on. They may not take good advice or some good insight as you sit down and discuss things. And in the consequence, they may fail. They may fail a paper. They may fail an exam. They may really fail in another place. But here's where you have to allow them to fail. It's important that you allow them to fail. Christ lets us make a decision. He gives us a choice. He gives us parameters that we're to work in, work within, live within. But if we make a choice, a foolish choice, or one that's not wise, and we have to suffer some negative consequences, sometimes that's the only way we learn. And there will be times when those that you are mentoring, those that you are discipling, they may make a wrong choice. They may do something foolish, and the consequences will be very negative. But you don't rescue them, because if you continue to rescue them and try to come in every time that they are in such a situation, and don't allow them to experience the consequences of their decision, they may never learn the importance of taking ownership, of taking self-responsibility, because they haven't been allowed to fail. There's nothing wrong with failure. What happens is when they're unable to get back up, and that's where you can encourage them. You can walk beside them, you can come alongside of them, and like I said, be vulnerable. You, we all have at one time or another, many times probably, we failed at something. We've experienced the consequences that are very negative because of a very wrong decision. And so we can walk with them and earnestly say, I know how you feel. You can empathize, you can walk with them, they can hear your heart, you're modeling Christ to them. When we fail, when we stumble, when we fall, Christ doesn't look at us and say, I told you so. When we get up, we ask for forgiveness. We know it's there. We feel His love. We feel His concern. We still may experience the consequences, but we know that we're back on track. And so you can be an encourager. And that's what they need at that point. They don't need somebody to say, you know what you did was wrong. They already know it. They're experiencing the consequence of their wrong decision. Like I said, whether they fail a paper, whether they fail an exam, whether they fail a whole course, sometimes that's a good thing in the sense if this will help them learn to be better and wiser in their choices, in their understandings of things. But you can be an encourager. You can encourage the heart. You're there to mentor them. And do you build on the gifts and the talents that they have? Like we said, if you get to know them, you'll understand them better and you'll see their gifts and their talents, and you can steer them. You can help them accomplish much more. You can reveal things, maybe talents that they don't even realize they have, or gifts that they don't even realize they have. But you begin to see things, and through leading them and mentoring and asking questions, you can help them understand that there's more there than what they see themselves. There's a lot more to them. And they have a lot more abilities than they may think they have. And so, as I said, you can nurture them at that time. And so you can give them some wisdom and say, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I understand. Have you ever thought about this? And so you can start building on their gifts and the talents as they continue on through their course and through their program. And you want to instill in them a community like they belong. And so if they feel like they belong, they're willing to stretch and maybe practice some more gifts or practice some other areas where they're not really used to it. And then we've already talked about, do you speak the truth in love? And very important. We always say, and like I said, my wife and I mentor a lot of people. Speaking the truth in love is one thing, but if you say you love a person or you care about a person and you don't speak the truth to them, then in a way that's a lie. Because if I care about the person, if I see value in them, if I want to treat them with dignity, if I see them of having worth and I want to see them succeed, then I will not lie to them. I will speak the truth to them. But I'll do it in a way that lifts them, that encourages them. There'll be a sting to it, there'll be a hurt to it, but in the long run, they will become a better person, and they'll be better off for it because you've taken a chance, and that is a chance. You're taking a leap of faith. that you build a rapport, you build a relationship with this person. You've walked with them, you're mentoring, you're discipling, you've got to know them. And then as you build that trust with them, when you say the hard things, hopefully they will take them and understand that you're doing the best for them. If you get nothing else out of everything we've discussed this morning, the fact that if they know that you care, you see them with value, you see them with worth, and you're going to speak the truth to them because you want the best for them. So the things that you speak to them, even the hard things, will be much more readily accepted because they know that you have their life, their success, their development is first and foremost to you. That's a great mentor. That's a great discipler. And I'm trying to get back on the screen here, but it just went black. I hope you can still hear me. I'm not sure what's happening in here right now. I'm on. I can see you. Can you see me now, I hope?
Yes.
Okay, are there any questions, comments? I think I can hear you. It's just, like I said, I've been in the dark. I couldn't get anything like this to come up on the screen. It finally came up. I say I have 7 new messages, but I can't see them anywhere. They're not anywhere on my screen. And there I just went completely out, and I don't know what happened. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me. I can't see you, and I don't think you can see me. Any questions or comments?
Thank you.
If there are no questions or comments, I'm going to have somebody come in and help me sign off. I do hope that you got something from today. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. The first time it went fairly smoothly. For this time, we started off rough, had another little bump in the road, and now we have a larger bump in the road. I want to encourage you to take on to be a mentor or a discipler or leading people is a huge responsibility and a huge task. But I am so grateful that there are people that are willing to do it. You can have an incredible impact on the lives of other people as you walk with them. And that's my prayer, that God would give you wisdom, He would give you insight, He would give you understanding, He would give you discernment with each individual that you mentor, that you walk with, that you're discipling there at the center, and that there's a sense of community. But each of them will leave there a better person because of what you have built into their life, what you've spoken into their life, and how you have helped them develop their gifts and talents further along down the road than they were before. That's a great gift that you can give somebody, one of the best that you can give a person. So thank you for your willingness, and I encourage you to be strong for them, be Christ-like, and allow God to use you in incredible ways. And I hope you have a great day and a wonderful weekend. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know what's happening. Thank you. I'm going to see if I can get somebody to come in here and help here. Oh boy. Okay, I'm back.
Well, I just wanted to find out from you if you are still there. Hello? Can you hear me? Can you still hear me? Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay.
No, I just wanted to find out from you, like, what you encouraged us to be the person of Christ. Yeah, but how would I develop that as a mentor for me to be influential towards the students that I'll be mentoring?
I'm sorry, it's so muted, it's not coming across.
Oh, can you hear me now? Hello?
Uh, okay, which one are you calling from? Or
Liberty.
Liberty?
Yes.
Okay. In Paro.
No, in George.
George.
Yes.
Okay, I got you. This thing is so muffled. Try it again.
Okay, I was gonna ask, how would I, as a mentor, develop the person of Christ in me, that I may influence also the students in the same way?
Uh-huh. So if I understood it, because it's muted, that you're mentoring your student the way what you're saying that God guides us and mentors us.
Yes.
Yes. That's why if we see them with God's heart, then it makes all the difference in the world as you mentor them.
See. For what? Was saying
Yes?
to be and understanding. I don't think you can hear me.
No, I'm not. For some reason, I'm sorry, the technology is just not cooperating this morning.
I would have,
If you want to contact me, if you want to contact me,
yes.
Natasha has all my, Natasha Paris, who's here at the beginning,
Okay, yeah.
she has all my contact details. We have people contacting us all the time, and I'll be glad to interact with you, Skype or email or whatever. That's not a problem. I'm here in Cape Town, and so I would be glad to. I would be more than willing.
That would be really great. I'll get your email address from Natasha, and then I'll link up with you.
Great. That sounds wonderful.
Awesome. Yeah, because I also have like a couple of problems that I've been facing with the pupils, but now I do not know how to really address them. So yeah, I probably need your advice on that.
Okay. I'll be glad to interact with you and see what direction everything goes.
Awesome. That would be really great.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You have a great day.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Okay. So when will we have you next? I was asking when we're going to have another session with you again.
Nothing's happening here.
I was asking when we're going to have another session with you.
I'm not sure. Probably in August. I'm going to be on. I have a long trip. I have some ministry in other parts around Africa. As we mentioned earlier, we've been in Africa 30 years, but we're living here now. But we'll be away for about 6 weeks or so. We'll be back the first part of July, possibly back here in August. But like I said, with the internet, I don't leave till next week. But with the internet, we can link up wherever and however.
Okay. So do you have any literature on mentoring?
I'm sorry?
Do you have written any literature on mentoring, or do you have any books with that I can read or stuff like that?
Okay, it's still, now it's muffled again. We will connect. I'll tell Natasha to make sure she gives you my information.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.